Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Talking Tradesman. In the studio with me today, after his worldwide travels, we have the one and only Dan Rolfe, painter and decorator. So, in my trade, and he's flown all the way back from Australia just to be on the podcast today.
Just for this.
Dan, let's talk.
So flight got in yesterday. No, I'm joking.
That's it.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Mate, appreciate as you and everybody else, man. I really appreciate your effort coming in. I know through it's a weird one this actually because I feel like I've been living vicariously through you because obviously we've spoken for a little while and I've followed you on Instagram for a long time, so I've seen the journey that obviously not all the listeners will have, so we'll run through it. But I've seen the journey of you from business to traveling to everything. And the one thing that you have always been very open about is obviously mental health. You've spoken about it a lot on your socials, which was another reason I wanted to get you in for a chat today. Because that's kind of the whole purpose and sort of like underlying tone of the podcast, which is let's talk, you know what I mean? And getting people such as yourself in that are willing to talk about mental health and their own journeys is what ultimately is going to kick that door open and get other men talking.
Yeah, it needs to be spoke about, right?
Absolutely.
That's why I'm so open about it. I'm just like, if I'm going through some shit, I'm just gonna, because you never know. Someone might actually come to me and be like, I'm also going through the same shit, and you can sort of like bounce off each other.
You get that, mate. You also get the silent ones that will benefit that you'll never hear about.
Yeah.
But they'll potentially hear something that you say on this podcast and they'll sit there and go, oh, Christ, I've been through that. And it will just be that little lift in their day where they realise they're not alone. There's other people in the world that have got their struggles and that are going through shit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of help that will happen that you'll never ever hear about.
Yeah.
But I kind of see these podcasts as like a metaphorical bookshelf. Do you know what I mean? Like each episode's a book that can be picked up at any time. So there'll be people that will know you from your past. There'll be people that will know you from your socials that will tune into this and hopefully do some good from it. As with every story, talking about bookshelves, mate, they have a beginning point. So let's take it back with you, mate. I mean, how? Tell me a bit about like the beginning of Dan Rolfe. So how was like childhood? Where did you grow up and all that kind of thing?
Okay, so how do I start? Right, I grew up in a place called Mitcham, South London.
Okay.
It's not a great area, to be honest with you. Grew up council house, single mother, sort of. So that was my upbringing, the standard sort of single mother childhood.
Yeah.
Don't really know how to explain it, to be honest. Like I feel like I had a good childhood. My mum did everything she could, you know. There was always that father figure missing, but as I've got older, I've learned how to understand why I am the way I am in certain aspects.
Not to pry too much, mate. Did you not have any relationship with your dad at all?
I did. Do you know what? I did sort of. It was like a weekend dad, right? But that wasn't all the time. A lot of like broken promises and stuff.
Okay.
But like as a young boy, you need a dad around, you know. You want. Like I say now, it's like I still feel like I'm seeking validation from my dad because I didn't have that when I was like younger. So all the relationships I look back in my past, like with just I get along really well with like older men. Like if I'm out somewhere, you'll find me talking to like the 40-year-olds, the 50-year-olds.
Mate, 40 ain't that old, Dan. Come on, mate.
for me, do you know what I mean? Like I talk to people who are older than me.
I only say that because I'm turning 40 this year, Dan.
I'm nearly 30, so
I get what you're saying, though. I
get
what you're saying.
Because just like I didn't learn what I needed to learn as a kid in that sort of aspect. I was brought up with women. Like my mum, I got an older sister. I was just always around women, like my aunties and stuff. We'd always go to my nan's on a Sunday, and it'd be like my family. But it's like my aunties. There was never really any uncles or anything there might have been a few here and there. But yeah, I was basically brought up by women. And
When you were a kid, did it? Because what I often sort of find out with people is that when they're in the moment, they don't realise it. It's looking back on reflection. Like when you were young and growing up, did you feel that absence of, or was it just normal? I guess as a kid.
just normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just filled my time by being out all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like I spent a lot of time in the local park with all the lads that sort of grow up the same.
yeah.
In my sort of area, it was very common for like our single mum.
I think it's common generally in society now.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of broken families and a lot of situations where
Mm,
fathers are absent.
mm,
But it's fascinating, really, isn't it, that so many of your adult traits come from what happened to you in your childhood.
yeah.
So I had a similar thing, but in reverse, mates. When my parents split up, my mum left. So I've had like abandonment issues from
Right.
the female side, and that narrative has ran through my adult life
Mm,
in the way that, like, I recognise it now. So I've changed my behaviour because I can understand where my head goes
yeah.
and the feelings and where it comes from. But it's fascinating to me, the psychology that
Mm.
those things as a child, they sit with you forever.
They really do, and I'm still working on that.
Mm,
Like that's why I'm so open about what I go through on like my socials and stuff, because I'm not perfect and I have bad days. And it's like part of me is sort of reaching out to be like, has anyone experienced this? Like, or am I just
mm,
feeling this way because it's like I'm weird or something? Do you know what I mean? Um, that's why I am so open about it, because I'm slowly learning that like stuff that happened in the past is why I react to certain things now.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm sort of, I guess I'm just on the journey of really finding out who I am as a person.
Mm.
Try not to blame too much of my childhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair play, mate. That's one. It's a very reflective state for you to be in. So the fact that you're aware of that
Mm,
is huge, because a lot of people will go through their entire life reacting to things based on, the traumas that they've experienced as a kid and all the rest of it.
mm,
So the fact that you've recognised it and that you're analysing yourself,
yeah.
that's like a sure route to growth, as far as I can see it.
Mm,
So it's a commendable thing, mate, and it's also commendable that you're so open and that you talk about
mm,
it. Because again, it might be that something you say plants that little seed with somebody else that goes, they might have listened to what you just said there and think, actually, that was a bit like my childhood, and maybe I, behave a certain way because I'm
yeah.
lacking that strong male sort of in the life.
Mm,
I find it all, hence why I study psychology. I find it all fascinating, all of the
yeah.
inputs that it's like the ingredients into a cake mix. You know what
Mm.
I mean? And there's a lot of similarities, but nobody's mix is identical. Everybody's a little bit different.
But I also
Um,
think that makes you who you are.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm proud of all the adversity I've had to face
Mm,
when I was younger, because it's actually made me who I am today. And like I've got some great traits, but there are a few things that I can now work on. Like I
mm,
haven't just said to myself, "Oh, that's me. I'm never going to be good at that or whatever." Because I can
yeah.
now see, hold up, I just wasn't taught that. So
Mm,
now let me go and learn that on my own time, and let me teach myself how to do these things. And because when I was younger, I emotions, I don't know, like talking about emotions for me, I just didn't really do it. I bottled in a lot of stuff,
mm,
and I didn't realize I was bottling in a lot of stuff. Because like my mum was super supportive and whatnot, but I just still feel like I felt like I couldn't talk to them. So I like for me, I spend a lot of time in bed. That
mm.
was my comfort zone. I'd go home, go to bed, and then it got to the point where I was like, why do I keep doing this? And today, to this day, that's still sort of like I find myself slipping back into that.
What's that for you then, Dan? Is that like safety or comfort? Where does that?
I think because my brain is like a million miles an hour,
Mm,
I just want to shut it off, and the only way
okay,
I can do that is sleep.
right.
So that is a big. That's my. I call it my biggest enemy. Because literally, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'll go and sleep. I'll have a nap.
Mm,
Um, and it just makes it worse Because when I went,
Yeah.
like, even I was thinking about this morning. I knew I was coming on this podcast, and this morning when I woke up, I had about 6 different songs going on in my head. I had some ideas for videos that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, what am I going to do in this podcast today? And having that, the instant you wake up, you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I can't deal with that. I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I end up really struggling in the morning. I'll wake up and I'll be like, I can't deal with that right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to sleep. And it hinders me a little bit. I'm going to expose myself to some customers here. But like, I find myself making excuses for being late to work. If I'm really having a bad day, I'll find myself making excuses that I can't come into work. Because I work by myself, it's very easy to do.
Yeah.
You're sort of like, oh, do you know what? The car's broken down today. I can't come in. And it's not good. I can see I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just that one thing that's my barrier. It's like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to face the world. There's too much going on in here that I'm just not getting out in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So I end up just going, do you know what?
Shutting down.
Screw it. I've got so many ambitions that I'm overwhelming myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this.
Have you got any coping mechanisms? Like, and the reason, like you saying this, it's resonating with me at the moment. I'm probably having one of the busiest years of my life. And I literally had this conversation, I shit you not, with my wife last night where I sat there and I went, I've got so much going on in my head, so many things to do, that I've got so much I'm thinking about, I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I felt like my head was, trying to focus on so many things that it actually incapacitated me.
Yeah.
That I couldn't place, like, where do I start?
It's crippling.
Yeah.
It really is crippling. Like, I can be in a really bad place. And I'm like, for me, how I can explain it is like, there's 2 versions of me. There's this one version inside of me that I know I am, like this creative guy, this outgoing, happy-go-lucky chap, But then there's this other one who's just like, nah, you're just going to sleep today because you're feeling depressed. Like, let's just sleep. Let's not do anything. Let's be lazy. Lazy is a big, I think that comes from childhood, like the whole lazy argument. Because I can come to that in a second, but this is the relationship I have with my dad.
Right.
It was more of like I worked with him when I became the age that I could, like in the construction industry and stuff.
Was your dad in the trades as well?
Yeah. He's a jack of all trade type
Right.
guy.
Okay.
And I helped him when I got old enough to. And it was always a case of like, I was lazy and sort of like useless.
He used to say that.
Yeah. Not beating around the bush. He'd call me lazy, and he'd be like, "Oh, you're always on your phone, not doing nothing." Whereas it was more of a case of like, I was doing what I was told, and then when I didn't have anything to do, I was just filling my time with my phone, And that's, to this day, I tell myself that.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're just lazy. You're useless. That's why I feel like I find myself asking stupid questions all the time, and I get overwhelmed with the stuff that I don't think I'm very good at. It's like with the whole business thing, I'm great at like the creative side of things. Love painting.
That's a good place to pause a moment and say a big thank you to this episode's sponsors, Q1. Q1 offer premium masking solutions, the perfect choice for the professional that demands perfection. Q1 tapes deliver clean, sharp lines every single time. They're designed for superior adhesion and easy removal, leaving no adhesive residue. In addition to the tapes, Q1 offer a whole range of surface protection. Using Q1, your projects look professional and the results speak for themselves. Available in most stores and online at q1tapes.com. The Talking Tradesman would like to offer our sincere thanks to Q1 for offering your support to raise mental health awareness and supporting the podcast from day one. I can speak personally, and I say that I use Q1 in my business on every project. With that said, let's get back to the episode.
Love doing all that. When it comes to business, crippled. I'm just like, what? How do you do that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I just shut down. Whenever I'm not feeling
Yeah.
super confident, it's like shut down.
I mean, I must say, like you saying and explaining this now, I'm piecing together like what I've seen
Mm,
externally, because I've seen you do that a couple of times with business, shut down
mm.
and be like, I'm done with business, and then come back, and then so that's like your coping mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
very good at quitting.
yeah,
Very good at quitting. Um,
I think it would be better described as pausing. I think because you do seem to come back.
do you know what it is? Yeah, with this career, I do seem to come back.
Mm.
But I mean, I wasn't always a decorator. When I was younger, I've had about so many different jobs. Like I worked in Domino's, I worked
Well,
in
let's
JD.
start then, mate. Let's try and go a little bit chronological.
Yeah,
So, first of all, how was school life for you?
that's a good one. Okay, so this is why, like I said earlier, I've got these two different sides of me. So
Mm.
inside, I know I'm this happy-go-lucky like person, and then I've got the other one that happened in school. That's where I look back now. That's where everything changed. Primary school, loved it. I was
Mm.
great at everything. I was a bright child.
Yeah.
I was predicted greatness. Um, Primary school, loved it. And then I got to high school, first 3 years, loved it. Like I, I've always been like a people pleaser, so I'd always have a bunch of friends.
Mm.
Like they might not have been friends, but I'd always try and get people involved. That was like me as a person. So I had this group of friends in high school, and then there'd be other people. I'd just speak to them here and there, and
Mm.
I'd be like, "Do you know what? You're a cool person. Come and join us." And I'd always try and bring as many people in as possible, because I just wanted people to like me.
Mm.
And again, I think I'm just seeking validation for.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just hoping that people can see, oh, he's a nice guy. Let's give him some credit. But yeah, it, it all sort of turned to shit in year 10 and 11. Looking back, that's sort of when I started getting depressed and anxious, and like it changed, From year
Mm.
7 to year 9, school's different.
Mm.
It's very much hands on, like the teachers help you with stuff. You do more creative stuff as like groups and whatnot. Whereas year 10 and 11, you get pushed by yourself. You're like, okay, cool. You're now doing your options that you've chose.
Mm.
It's all on you. I struggled with that massively. As soon as they started saying, oh, you've got to do coursework on this, I was like, oh, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Was it a pressure thing, thinking of the judgment at the end, or
No,
because it
no.
seems like you're capable, like the capability is
Yeah,
there.
that's my issue is I would always just put it off until last minute.
Mm.
And then when you get to the important stages like GCSEs and stuff, you can't really do that. I
Mm.
did, and I just about scraped through. But year 9, everyone was like, yeah, you're going to be getting A's and A stars and stuff. I was like, okay, cool. That sounds great. And I got into them years, and I was like, oh, now I have to go off and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that massively. I have to be accountable to someone. That's a big, I don't know what it is, but for me, I have to like, in year 7 to year 9, I had the teachers credit. If I was being smart, they'd be like,
Mm.
that's great, good answer. When you got to the later years, it was like, yeah, like, is this any good? Like, I'm always looking for, even in the painting now, I'm like,
Mm.
is this good? I
The
don't know. Am I
validation.
doing all right? I have no idea. I
Yeah.
could be a cowboy. Don't know. Do you know what I mean? Um, that's I've always looked for that. And then year 10, 11, that's when it all sort of started going to shit. And I skipped a lot of school.
Mm.
I would go into school, I'd climb over the fence and go back to bed.
Step back to the bed
Back
thing.
to bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at first I didn't want to get out of bed. And then I got to school, and it was always this. I had a bad stomach or a
Mm.
migraine. Those were my
The ones that can't be proved, mate, aren't they? Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, I've got a really bad headache. Like I need to go home. But I think
Mm.
I don't know. I do suffer with migraines and stuff. But the stomach, that was definitely like I was anxious about something.
Yeah, yeah.
No idea what it was. And I was like, well, I'm not sitting in school all day with a dodgy stomach, so I'm just going home. But
Mm.
then when I stayed at school, I loved it. I had all my friends there. I was like,
Anyone ever notice it, Dan? Like,
Towards the end, yeah.
like, was it something like your mum? Did anyone have these conversations? Was it ever identified as anxiety or
No,
no?
no. I've sort of learnt in the later years. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research at the minute about like ADHD, and if I look back to my childhood, it's written
Mm,
like ADHD. They say when you get to like a certain point and you have to start relying on yourself to do stuff,
yeah,
you just get distracted and you don't do anything. It's exactly what I was doing. I was just
yeah.
avoiding everything, and even to this day, like
Sounds, yeah, the
the
thought
whole
pattern thing. Yeah, yeah.
it's yeah. So I'm really working on trying to heal that. Don't know how I'm going to
Mm,
do it, but I'm trying. But that was my school life, and it really hindered me um, because I didn't do the last 2 years of school. Really, I was
mm,
there. I missed a lot of stuff with my friends. Like I'd go in one day and everyone would be like, "Oh, yesterday was brilliant." You sort of just, I felt like I was getting pushed away from, and I felt even more lonely, you know,
mm.
because I weren't going to school. So I was like, "Oh, my friends must think I've still got that to this day. It's like if you don't talk to me, it's let's say we spoke now and we didn't
Yeah,
talk for like a year, I would be nervous to talk to you again because I'd be like, oh,
yeah.
maybe the last time I said something weird and
The
he doesn't like
overthinker,
me
mate.
anymore.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I had a lot of that in school. That obviously helped. That didn't help with the whole. I'm just going to avoid it because they probably don't like me anyways.
Mm.
I mean, when I was in school, I was a bit of a class clown. Um, I think I'm hilarious. Um, I was yeah, I was quite distractive.
It's another thing, though, Dan, isn't it? Like being a class clown, it's that
Mm,
validation, getting people to laugh. If you make people laugh, they like you.
yeah,
So it's that seeking of approval or
yeah,
wanting to be liked, wanting to be loved. It's ironic actually because obviously talking to you, and I've had a lot of previous guests on. There's so many similarities between a lot of guests.
mm,
And I'll pull back to two. There was Michael Johnson, who's a painter and decorator,
hmm,
and Will Blackburn, another painter and decorator, both diagnosed with ADHD. And a lot of what you said there is similar to what they were saying.
yeah,
They were diagnosed and have gone down the medication route and have said it's been life changing.
mm,
Not saying that's what you should do, but there's a lot of similarities between what
yeah,
you were. Foxy as well, who was on
yeah,
only a few weeks ago.
yeah, yeah,
Again, has got ADHD, hyperfocus, and
yeah,
again, a lot of what you're saying is resonating with the things he was saying.
yeah. Mine's
So
crippling. That's my only issue. Is like
yeah, yeah, it does
because I
sound, yeah,
have too much.
yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Have you ever
can't do
considered it?
anything.
I mean, not
Up
in
to
any way giving you advice, mate,
no.
but have you considered
Um.
diagnosis and support?
Actually, so I was helping a decorator out. I think it was like last year, a local decorator, and she was speaking to me about it. She's like, "It sounds like you might have a little bit of ADHD there, mate." And I
Mm,
was like, "Yeah, whatever." And obviously, I've been digging deeper into it and stuff. But it's like I've just heard the stories like it takes years to diagnose, and it's just like, okay, well, I
mm.
need to because I'm at the point now where I need something quick.
I think you can get it a lot from what they were saying.
Yeah,
I'm no expert in it, but from what those guys were saying, it's a lot easier now.
yeah,
And I believe I don't know what the cost involved is, but you can certainly go private and get a private like a diagnosis very
yeah.
quickly for quite low cost, I
Mm.
believe. So
Yeah, there's definitely something I've been looking into.
mm,
I'm trying to do it like the holistic way first, just to
yeah,
see if I can sort of rewire
I'm just
my
thinking like from what you've said,
yeah
it's that thing, isn't it? If you can just quieten the thoughts down, you become so much more able to focus and so much more productive.
yeah
Um, I've got a massively overthinking brain myself, similar to you. I don't think I've got ADHD, but I definitely fall into some of the
yeah
categories. But I got through school fine and all the rest of it, and I almost feel like I've developed ADHD like symptoms in the last 5 years.
yeah
But I remember that the only thing that I can liken it to was a theoretical situation where I possibly microdosed on mushrooms.
okay yeah
And mate, that have you ever?
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
right.
I've tried it a couple of times and I've
Okay.
actually so I had a tattoo on Saturday. He's very into his like holistic
Yeah,
like shamans and like crystals and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah.
and he's massively ADHD. Like it pains me to get tattoos from him because I know that he's going to do an hour, flaff about for a little bit, and then he's going to come back to the same spot and it's going to hurt even more. But yeah, we've been talking about it, and he's I'm going to look into like doing the whole microdosing mushrooms.
The time, so my experience of it, mate, which is obviously, this is just theory. My experience of it was I said to my missus, I was like, the best way I can describe it is prior to taking on, my brain as like a combination of like 70 cogs, all turning and all turning and all turning. And doing that was like, it was replaced with one cog, just function. And it was like, just so peaceful, mate.
So that's how I sort of say what mine is like. It's like I've got 100 tabs open in my brain.
Yeah, similar.
And I'm just scrolling through all of them, and I don't know which one to actually land on.
I felt fully functional.
Yeah.
And productive, if anything. I could actually focus on one thing at a time, a little bit like the tab analogy. It would be a case of like opening a tab, looking at it, shutting it down, open the next one. Whereas like you say, at the moment, on most days, it's like having 20 open on the same screen and you're kind of going over there, over there, over there, over there.
But I mean, so I've listened to a lot of podcasts. That's literally what I do with my life, is try and figure out what is going on inside my head. So I listen to like a lot of podcasts and read books and stuff.
You got a whole library of the talking tradesmen to catch up on now, Dan.
And they was talking about the benefits of psychedelics and mental health issues. Apparently they're doing all sorts of studies at the minute. There's been a load of studies already.
The UK are quite behind.
We are.
The US are massively progressive on it, and I've looked into a lot of the research on psilocybin studies, which is obviously, for anyone listening, the active ingredient in mushrooms, particular mushrooms, not your Tesco variety. But there's been a lot of like research done for like war vets with PTSD. It's been hugely beneficial, and it is very therapeutic. We could go down a whole rabbit hole of why it's a Class A drug, because pharmaceutical companies don't make a lot of money.
They saw it was too good, and it opened people's minds up.
Exactly.
It's the same as
thing.
Have you heard of ayahuasca?
Yep.
So I mean, that's another thing. I listened to a podcast, and there was like, this guy was an addict, took an ayahuasca trip, and now he's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's just rewiring your brain.
I genuinely, mate, I'd love to do that.
I would, but I think I'd be scared shitless, to be honest. I think I'd have to dabble in a little bit of other stuff first before I even went down that road.
In a proper guided experience, which is what they are, like in a proper therapy centre they have, I'd be down for that. Yeah, I'd be down for it. It's just the fact you have to like fly to South America, and
not necessarily. They're starting to pop up everywhere now. There's people in England that probably do it.
Proper. See, that's what I mean. That would scare the shit out of me. See, I don't
go do it in a local Tesco car park and just.
Well, this is my thing. So I'm like, I have an irrational fear around drugs, which has probably saved me in the past. So drugs are not my thing. I mean, I know what I've just talked about, but they're not my thing. It has to be controlled. So. What I did was very controlled. It was like it was a legalized product in America that might have potentially found its way to the UK, but the dose was very easy. You knew exactly what you were doing, which has always kept me away from doing anything like black market, as it were. So if it was like a registered place, I'd do it, but I would not.
So I mean, my experiences were in America. Like when I went to America last year. Got some people out there, they're into all this kind of stuff. And I was speaking about, I'm trying to find anything I can to sort out what's up here, you know? And I was like, I'll try anything. I'll try it.
How did you find it?
Microdose, I didn't feel much. Again, I just felt normal. I just felt normal. And then I took a bit too much one time, and it wasn't very nice. I felt like I had food poisoning, and I got told to just put headphones in and ride it out, and that's what I did. But I did it completely wrong. I did it in a room by myself. I should have been out in nature and done it, like set intentions and all. There's like actual rituals that you do to do it. People aren't just taking them willy-nilly for this kind of stuff. Some people use it for fun, but for me, it's sort of like
therapeutic purpose.
I need to. Ideally, I need to find someone that can guide me through, and we can actually maybe like talk while I'm on it and try and get some of this out, you know? That's definitely something I've been looking into, because the whole like ADHD medication and stuff, I've heard it's a long process. So I've just been looking into other ways. I mean, that's pretty much my childhood. High school, I was popular,
Yeah.
but I
There is a water for you, Dan, by the way,
perfect.
around there,
Thank
mate.
you.
That's for you.
Cheers. I was popular, but in the end, like because I just didn't go to school, I just
Lost
sort of
touch.
yeah, yeah. But I was the party guy. I had so many parties at my house.
Right.
Yeah, I was the house party guy. So everyone loved me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like we're going to Dan's this weekend and we're gonna get smashed. You
Again, though,
know,
Dan, it's that like validation
it
thing,
is.
isn't it?
Yeah,
The class
yeah,
clown, the lad with the parties.
yeah,
Not not knocking it, excuse me, that went down the wrong way. Not knocking it.
yeah.
It is what it is. But it's interesting. I mean, I can do the same. I can look back at some of my actions and the way that I used to be when I was younger and go, that's because of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm,
it was interesting to reflect back that way.
it is. For me, it's like I always felt like I was second best though. That's been a big thing for me as well. Like I knew, like I was a class clown, but I wasn't the best class clown. There was
Yeah.
another guy who was hilarious, and like I looked up to him because he was like really funny,
Yeah.
quick with it, you know. I was funny, I did my thing, but I was like second best. And then like I was into sports. Sports is really what kept me out of trouble because in my area you go one of two ways. You either join a gang, start selling drugs and doing all that kind of stuff, or you kind of do other stuff. Luckily, sports sort of helped me not go down the wrong path. A lot of my friends from like primary school ended up in prison. But yeah, played a lot of football. But again, I was good, second best. I was never. No one ever was like, do you know what, Dan? And that's what I've just been craving for my whole life. I don't know what it is. It's that feeling of just being the best, I guess. That's the only way I can explain it because I always feel like there's always someone better than me, and that really sort of holds me back in myself when I know I've got the ability to go forward. To this day, like,
What do you think, like, if you were to get that validation, if you were to be the best, and that's not saying that you're not, but there's probably a mental block preventing you from accepting that. If you were to get that status, what do you think, where would that leave you?
I don't think I'd believe it
Yeah.
because I've just experienced so much of the opposite. You know, like I don't know. I've always felt like I'm not good enough, and that's been a massive. All these things is just this is what I overthink. This is what I overthink. I feel like,
mate, do you know what though? You can look at it two ways, can't you? You can look at it as a disappointment,
yeah,
or you can look at it as if you don't think that you're the best and you always feel you're second best, it's a driving factor
yeah,
because you seek to improve, which, you know, again, is human nature. We always seek to improve. That's the reason. It's essentially the whole thing behind our evolution.
yeah,
You know, it's like, I don't know, good example, phones. You know what I mean? Like my current phone, absolutely sound, does everything I need it to. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing it doesn't do. But in 2 years' time, that'll be prehistoric. There'll be a better camera. There'll be faster. There'll be smoother. There'll be better sound quality. And that's the thing. We just constantly seek to, yeah, that's okay, but let's do better. Let's do better. Let's do better. So it depends, mate. You can look at it as a mindset where you're never satisfied. You can also look at it as a mindset that's going to drive you forwards.
So like, I've been doing the work. So like, this is. I don't feel too much like that anymore. I feel like, do you know what? I'm the best at being me.
Best
No
version
one's
of you
me.
there is. Yeah, that's good.
No one's me. So let me just lean into being me. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
If it means I'm second, third best at something, who cares? I'm still the best at doing what I do.
Let's pause there a moment to say a massive thank you to our headline sponsors, Zinza. Now, I am over the moon that Zinza have got on board to support the Talking Tradesman podcast because genuinely, we use Zinza products on virtually every job we do in my business as a painter and decorator. Zinza are a renowned and established brand. They do things like primers, sealers, and stain block coatings, and also things like the mold and mildew resistant finishes that they produce. such as the Perma White in front of me here. Zinza are well known for their stain block and adhesion primers, such as Bin and Bullseye 123, and their new product, the Bin Aqua. Zinza's products are well known for their high performance and ease of use. They cater to both the professional and DIY market, and the talking tradesmen are once again over the moon to have sponsored with Zinza as our headline sponsor. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah,
being me, and like you can't go wrong with that. Who's
like that.
Who's going to be a better me?
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
So that's what I'm sort of just really leading into that at the minute. I'm letting whatever comes my way come my way, and I'm just doing what I want to do, and like I'm very big on being polite and like just being a nice person to people. I feel like if you give goodness out, you receive it back. I'm big on karma and stuff. So that's what I'm trying. I'm just trying to be a good person, and that's all I can do right now.
You could argue there's not much in life that's more important than that.
No,
to be honest, and it does certainly. I tend to find my own journey, as it were, over the last few years led me to obviously study psychology, and then as part of that, I started volunteering at Samaritans, and that was it was like a light bulb moment for me. I've also studied in the past, although I'm not religious, I've studied Buddhism, and one of the key Buddhist philosophies is that happiness is found in service to others. And joining Samaritans and volunteering was the first time I experienced that in terms of there was no financial benefit. There was no business gain for me because I've always been like, I took over my business at 17. So I've always been like immersed in business, profit, money. And that was the first time where I sort of left and thought, oh, I feel good about myself for doing that, you know? And that's been the eye opener, and that was the driving force behind setting the podcast up. Yeah. Same thing. It's that like being of service to others. Same thing, really. Being a good person, being nice to people, being of service to people. Yeah. That's the key to like happiness. Really,
that's when you feel the best about yourself, right?
Definitely.
You go and help someone with something. You're like, I feel good about myself.
100%.
Acts of service is it's one of the best traits to have.
Yeah, I mean, you can go full circle on it, can't you? Because you can kind of go, well, because like when people say to me about volunteering at Samaritans, they're like, that's a really selfless thing to do. And I say, it's not. It's not, because I get something from it. So you can go full circle and go, but actually the reason I'm there is because it makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah, but you're being selfless by doing it. It is selfish in an aspect of like...
Everyone wants to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And how you get there, you know, if you can get there by helping other people, then...
But a lot of people fake it, though. You're actually doing the work, which is selfless. Yeah. Selfish would be more like, I'm going to go and do it. I'm not actually going to help these people, but I'm just going to reap the rewards of it. So if you're just there and you're like enabling them...
Like the recording, giving a homeless person a fiver or whatever.
That to me, that's not actually being selfless, but you're actually doing the work. You should feel good about it. It's not selfish. It's selfish if you go and do the work because you know people are watching, or do you know what I mean? Like, it was,
do you know what? Weirdly, I mean, not to talk about this is about you, but the one thing I just want to highlight is, strangely, when I first did that, I'd say probably for the first 9 to 10 months of volunteering there, the only people that know that I was doing it were the people in my house.
Yeah,
and I was quite protective of that because I thought, I don't want to virtue signal this.
Yeah,
I don't want to, be posting, I'm off to Samaritans now, because people are going to look and be like, oh, he's just doing it for the clout of doing that. So I was quite protective of it until I sort of flipped it and thought, actually, I really rate the service and I feel like people in the trades can really benefit from it. So now I want to actually push it out there, and I'll talk about it and I'll promote it to try and raise the awareness of that service. So that's the angle I came at. But yeah, initially I was quite hesitant to even talk about the fact I was doing it, because of that like fear of being seen to be doing it for those wrong reasons,
Yeah. I mean, you can tell like you've got a podcast like talking to people about mental health and stuff. It's not you're not doing it in a selfish manner. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely not. But there's always an angle that can come about, isn't there? You know,
there's always an angle. There's always an angle.
And there will be, mate. I'm sure. I haven't had it yet, thankfully, touch wood.
Yeah.
But I'm sure at some point somebody out there will come up with a reason why I'm doing this.
Lucky you, mate. I get it all the time.
It's in the post, mate. It's in the post. I'm still too fresh to this.
You are.
Mate, let's pull back to you. Let's jump. So we've gone through school. Let's go to the next bit, like work. And you said you did a whole load of jobs.
So
tell me about that.
Again, when I finished school, I was like, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to college, study sports. I again, I didn't really go to college. So the first year I pretty much I quit after the first year. Supposed to do a 2-year course, quit after the first year. Started working because I grew up broke, like didn't have much money, so I had to work. So I was working and going to college. I was working in Domino's in the evening and then going to college during the day. Got to me, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to stick with work because I can't. And then my dad come on the scene and he was like, come and help me on some jobs. I was then working during the day, working during the night. Then obviously I quit Domino's to do the building with my dad. And I was like, no, I'm not really enjoying this anymore. I'm going to go back to college. Went back to college. I did a 1-year sports course, just about scraped through that as well. I did like 3 months worth of coursework in 2 weeks in the library because I'd left it last minute again, which is just the story of my life. I leave everything last minute. I passed that and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go work in a gym. I'm going to be a fitness instructor. I'm going to go down the personal training route.
Yeah.
And then I realized I don't want to do that either because it's a sales job.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a salesman. Like the last thing I hate trying to sell things. And then I like helping people, but I feel like if I'm trying to sell my service to help you, it sort of takes away from the helping.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And I was like, it's not for me. I'm not going to look around for people that are unhealthy, try and get them healthy for money. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me. I've tried retail. Only thing I enjoyed was like the customer interaction. I was really good at customer service. I quit a lot. I'd be in a job and I'd always think I know better than the manager. And that got me in so much trouble because there was a few jobs I was just like, you should do this instead. It'd be a lot more efficient. Because I'm an ideas person. I'm a creative person, okay? I've got ideas for everything. I could come to work with you for a week and I'd have ideas for stuff that you can do and improve some stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's just what I enjoy doing. But when you're like just working in a retail and you start talking to your manager like, oh, you're doing that wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. And then you just I felt too smart to be what I was doing, basically. It might sound a little bit big-headed, but
No,
I was just on the floor and I was like, well, if we did this, 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 and this, I like managing people. I'm really good at sort of being efficient with stuff, and I feel like I'm a good leader. And yeah, I just got to the point where I was like, yeah, it's not for me. I don't want to build my way up to that. I'm not excited about it, so I quit. I did that with a lot of jobs. JD, quit. I worked in like another retail store, quit. Domino's was my longest job, and that was a year. And then I quit. But I always ended up back with my dad. He always managed to get me back. He was like, oh, come and help me on this job. I'll give you 50 quid a day. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I'd go get a job because I'd be like, no, I can get more money and less work elsewhere. I'd go do the job and he'd be like, oh, I'll give you £70 a day. Come back, help me out. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. And that was just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
That happened all the way until I started my business, to be honest with you, which was like 6 years ago.
So how did that come about then, mate? Was that like a spin-off from working with your dad in construction? How did you, or what point did you, because that's a big fucking step, mate.
Yeah.
To go from working in retail and doing bits with your dad to go, I'm going to set up my own business. That's a big step.
So, I mean, with my dad, so how I got into painting and decorating, for example, he wouldn't like doing the painting and decorating. So I started off, did a few little bits here and there, enjoyed it because I actually did stuff. Like my whole thing with my dad is like, I'll clean up after him, which I hated doing. And I'll just lug, because he mainly fitted windows.
Yeah.
I just lug massive windows on my shoulder all day long, upstairs, like flats and big bits of glass and holding stuff. Like, it just wasn't for me.
The donkey work.
And then obviously you complain that I was on my phone or whatever, or not working hard enough. Even though I'd work until like 9 o'clock some nights and like we wouldn't have lunch, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. But when he said, oh, go and do that painting job for me, I was like, yes, I get to do some stuff. This is my job. I've done that from start to finish. I had no idea what I was doing because he's not a good painter. He's very like old school, whack some oil base on it and call it a day. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I found that I really enjoyed it. I was like pretty good at this. We did a job in Tottenham Court Road, and I had a bit of a Barney with the decorator that was on the job, and basically he left, and I finished this whole job by myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, I'm pretty good at this now. And then it got to the point where I was doing like I listened to Gary Vee a lot. He's like
I've seen you reference him
he's a
quite a
big
bit on your
inspiration
socials, yeah.
for me. He's the reason why I started Instagram, started doing all my socials and stuff.
Okay.
And he's the reason why I sort of took the leap for the business. But originally, I wanted to build my dad's business. I wanted to help him build like a good, legitimate business and big construction business. We can have all these teams and all this kind of stuff. I had all these ideas, and I was like, it would be great. Let's do that. And then we was on a job, and we fell out massively. He like refused to pay me some money for like 2 weeks worth of work. I was like, okay, cool, fair enough. And I'd got us a job, like off the back of trying to build us a business. I got us a job. It was decorating this newly plastered sort of. It was a shop, and there's like 3 flats above the shop, and that was supposed to be for us. So I had 2 options. I either stop and go find a job, or I just go and do that job by myself with sort of little to no knowledge about how to actually do a job like that by myself. And at this point was actually when I was diagnosed like with depression from the doctors, because I was in a hole basically, and that's when I was probably at my lowest.
At the time that you fell out with your dad?
Around that sort of time, yeah, I was dabbling in some stuff shouldn't have been dabbling in. And yeah, they was like, oh, you've got depression. So okay, cool, whatever. They put me on some antidepressants, and it gave me a little bit of clarity, and it sort of helped me through the beginning stages of building this business. It got me out of bed in the morning, and I just went and did this job. It was the other side of London. I'd have to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to miss the traffic. So I was starting at like 6 o'clock in the morning, leaving at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I did that for 4 weeks. That's when I started my Instagram, just documenting, because I was by myself. I was a bit lonely at the time, just documenting. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start with this business. Fuck it, why not? I've seen some cowboys out there that are terrible. I'm surely better than them, and they're getting paid money, so why can't I? At least I've actually got some sort of passion where I want to be good at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, started Instagram. I learned off of a lot of people, like about certain products and all this kind of stuff. I was like, wow, there's so much I need to learn. And that really it sparked in me. I was like, wow, I've got something that I can focus on now. And I did as much research as possible. I was trying all these new things. And I was enjoying posting on Instagram and stuff, and people were helping me. I was like, this is amazing. And then that's sort of how I built my business, to be honest with you.
Fair play though, mate. I mean, if I can just pull it back a little, because you say that obviously around that time you got diagnosed with depression.
Yeah.
What was, to sort of probe into that a little, what was the sort of like mitigating factor or symptoms around that? Because you wouldn't, the things would have had to have been going on for that diagnosis to have taken place.
I got to the point where I was like, I can't face this anymore. The whole laying in bed, sleeping, God knows how long each day, sleeping through. I've slept through so much, like good things that have happened, bad things. I've just slept through everything, and I was like, I need to sort this out. It's not healthy. Something's wrong with me. And I was adamant. I was like, there's something wrong with me. I'm not like, fix me basically. And I went to the doctors, and they was like, yeah, you're just depressed. Just here, have some tablets. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess that's it then. But again, it brings it back to like the whole ADHD thing, and that the overwhelm and stuff. That's what was making me depressed. I didn't want to face the world because I just had too much shit going on in my head. Yeah. And I mean, like I mentioned briefly there, I was doing stuff that like probably shouldn't have done. But so recently I've listened to a podcast, right? and they was talking about cocaine and the effects of cocaine with ADHD.
Yeah.
And I dabbled in it. Okay. Actually, I had my first line of cocaine with my dad. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Mouthful
Great
of
time to
water at
have a
that
drink.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not your average bonding
it's
session, is
not. This
it?
is what I mean. We had this relationship. It was more like a
Yeah.
worker
Yeah.
boss relationship. And I found that it made me feel normal. It slowed everything down. My head was
The opposite. To what it.
clear.
See, I can't empathise, mate, because
Mm.
I'm not trying to paint myself as like the golden child,
No.
but I've never touched coke.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
irrational fear. I think I heard a advert or a news article once about somebody that did a bad line and died.
Mm.
That's me. Never,
Yeah.
ever touch it.
I get it.
And I never have. So I don't know what it feels like. And that said, I grew up similar to you, mate. I grew up on a council estate. I went to the rough school. A lot of my social circle
Mm.
have been in and around that world. I've been in and around it myself. I've just never done it. So I don't know how it feels, but I gather if you haven't got ADHD, it's the opposite. Is that right?
I think
I don't know.
it's like a party drug.
It's
Isn't
not
it?
meant
Like,
to slow things down,
everyone's
though,
like,
is it?
yeah, go on. Yeah, it's a good time, right?
Mm.
But like, I avoided it for so long. Like, I'm talking this is like when I was like 24,
Mm.
and I was like, I managed to, because I was so anti drugs and all that kind of stuff as well. But I just did it. I don't know, because my dad does it. I was like, oh, okay, let me see if I can bond with him with this.
Through it, yeah.
And I did it, and I was like, hold up, like the real Dan's coming out now.
Mm.
What's that about? I was confident. I could talk to people. I could have clear thoughts, and I was like, this stuff's great. Why don't more people do this? And yeah, so I was doing that for a little while. I haven't touched anything like recently. I'm like, I don't like drinking. I vape, but I don't smoke. Don't do drugs anymore. I'm very good at doing too much of something and then going, yeah, I'm done with that. Do you know what I mean? I overstimulated myself with it, and I was like, cool, I don't need to do that again.
Yeah.
Embarrassed myself on it, so that's done. I'm not going to touch that again. Drink, I'm like, I'll have a beer here and there, but I don't enjoy getting drunk. Obviously, I did work in a party hostel for a little bit, but I worked in a party hostel. I got drunk 3 times in 3 months.
Way.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't do any of that because it fucks with the head even more.
Oh, massively.
If I drink, I'm even more depressed. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? But yeah, bringing it back. It was very on and off of my dad. It's like that job was cool, and then we did another. And yeah, he's my parents have got their own mental health issues, and sort of I've seen how they deal with it. Tried their ways, and I just don't really want to. That's why I'm trying so hard to be open about it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. But it's generational to a degree, Dan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how old your dad is, but that generation, no doubt, wouldn't have explored. See, this is the one big distinguishing factor that I feel needs to be highlighted, and it was one I was ignorant of myself, which is the difference between mental health and mental illness.
Yeah.
And from a certain generation, they all classify mental health as mental illness, but there's probably to clarify while I'm talking about this, everyone has mental health. Everybody has mental health, whether it's good, bad, whatever. There's a whole load of analogies on previous episodes you can refer to. But not everybody, a mental illness, things like schizophrenia, things like, but I think in a certain generation, when you used to discuss mental health, straight away, they think that you're going to be carted off to an asylum. But the reality is everyone's got it, So,
but that's what I'm learning. So like, I'm not, my dad is not a horrible person by any means. Okay. I love him, love my mum. I love them all. He just deals with his shit in bad ways.
Yeah.
And I've learned to accept that. I'm like, okay, cool. I've tried to sort of tell him, why don't you go to therapy? Why don't you do this kind of stuff, which is what I'm trying to do. And he's like, yeah, like maybe or whatever. But he's been through some shit. He didn't have a dad growing up.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to be a dad. So like I sympathize with him fully. I don't blame him for anything. I'm just sort of that's how I feel. That's my story. Is like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he wasn't there when I needed him,
Yeah.
and he deals with his shit in that way. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that will help me. Didn't. And my mum deals with her shit like by sleeping and that. That doesn't help me either.
Okay.
But it's like they're I love them both, but they've both got their
Their
own
own demons.
problems.
Yeah.
And it's like at this point where I am now, it's like I wish they would do the work that I'm doing, because I'm really, really trying to sort this out so I don't have to put this on the next generation.
Mate, you're stepping out of line.
Yeah.
In a good way. When
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
stepping out, you know what I mean? It's that person that steps out of that cycle
Yeah.
that has to change it, and you're stepping out of that line that, by the sounds of it, generationally there's been. And you could probably trace it back and back and back and back and back.
Yeah.
I like to, again, I love my analogies, mate.
Yeah.
But I like to think of it as tools, like a toolbox. Because I've had to think of my own past this way, because there's a lot of things that I did and ways that I acted, and probably people that I hurt, that I used to feel very guilty and remorseful over. Which, that's not to say that there isn't that, like I don't care anymore, but there's also a part of me that's had to accept that a previous version of me did not have the like coping mechanisms and mental tool set that I now do.
Yeah.
So now if something triggers me because of my childhood, I now understand where that come from and what I can do to navigate it.
Yeah.
Whereas a previous version of me might have been triggered by something and thought, I'm going to go and get smashed this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to play up. I'm going to have a fight. But
I think that's the most important thing, is like, we all have, like you say, mental health.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
We're all dealing with shit. And what I've sort of learned is like, we just need to learn how to deal with that shit in a more productive way.
100%, mate.
Because there are some people that are sabotaging themselves even deeper, and it's not going to get better. Like, we're all going to have our bad days, but we need to learn that they're just bad days. And like you said, just recognize that, okay, we'll maybe have a little bit of trauma that from our childhood that's coming out in our in our adult life. Let's just notice that and not be too hard on ourselves. A lot of people are too hard on themselves.
It's about finding the tool and learning how to use it.
Yes.
The tool that will let you deal with whatever that issue, whatever that demon might be. But also, as I say, learning to forgive the version of you that didn't have that tool. And in your case, with what you're talking about, potentially learning to forgive your parents for not having those tools.
Yeah.
So they're just coping with it with the tool set they have, which doesn't include the coping mechanisms that you're now learning.
No.
But I also appreciate there must be a frustration to that where you're going, well, I'm learning this, so why don't you?
Yeah.
But again, I think there's part of it, it's the old dog new tricks thing, and there's definitely that generational, Christ, it's conditioning, isn't it? That's the word I'm looking for, that certain generations were conditioned a certain way, and it takes so much to break that conditioning.
Yeah.
And it's scary as well.
It's really scary, yeah.
You imagine living your life a set way for 50, 60 years, I'm guessing on the age of your parents here, to then, it's like the Alice in Wonderland thing, shatter that reality and go, but you don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
Because there's then that thing where you look and go, well, hold on, have I just wasted 50 years?
Yeah.
And then the guilt and the remorse. It's weird, mate. It's a very deep subject that we're touching on.
But that is the thing as well, like with their ages. They was very young when they had me and my sister. So they were teenagers trying to bring up kids.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hard that is. I can't imagine having kids when I was 20, 21.
Yeah.
Because I'd be fucked right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do any of this work on myself, and I probably would have projected my shit onto them. So like, I've got more than enough respect for both of them, and I understand where they're coming from, and I understand.
As you said, that so there's that side of it, isn't there? But there's also the side of it where you still feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
So although you understand what your childhood was and was potentially lacking, it doesn't stop you feeling the way that you feel about that. I had exactly the same thing, mate.
Yeah.
My mum and dad split up when I was young. I stayed with my dad. My dad was a drinker. And we've got a good relationship now, but there were we didn't speak for 8 years at one point. And there were a lot of things that went on in my childhood that I can't they're still there,
Yeah.
that I had to deal with, still am dealing with. And I guess I forgive, but you can't forget.
No.
You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
still part of my
Yeah.
cake mix, to refer back to what I said.
No,
You can't
fully.
take that ingredient out once it
Yeah.
goes in the bowl. So yeah, it's a funny one, mate. Deep subject there, Dan.
Sorry, mate.
Mate, this is exactly what this is what the podcast is all about, mate.
Yeah.
It's I love these conversations because it gets me thinking,
Yeah.
gets me reflecting, gets me thinking. And the whole thing fascinates me anyway. I've got a genuine interest in psychology and the way we think and feel. So
But I also think that's the helpful part. Like, without talking to you about this, I might not have spoke about it.
yeah.
And when you do actually, it's just funny when I start talking about this kind of stuff and I'm putting it into words, I'm actually internally being like, oh yeah, shit, that makes sense now.
But mate, that is a basis of like 90% of therapy.
Yeah. I
It's,
highly recommend therapy to anyone. I thought when I first did, I was like, I don't need therapy, because I got from like the older generation. You're a man, you don't talk about that kind of shit.
Yep.
Even though I was raised by women, still didn't really talk about my emotions and stuff because I didn't feel like that was a manly thing to do. And I mean, I grew up in a feminine environment anyway, so I didn't want to get any more feminine by talking about all my problems to everyone. So I was trying to keep my masculine by myself, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, it's literally the whole let's talk.
Yeah.
It's the whole emphasis of the podcast is exactly that. I was told when I did my Samaritans training, I got told again with the analogies, but it's a good one. We were told the analogy in the training, which is because the interesting thing with the Samaritan service,
Yeah.
you can't give advice.
Okay.
So it's just a listening service. That's it. And you kind of think, well, what good can I do? What help can I provide
Yeah.
by not being able to say, well, I tell you what, mate, try this. Or have you tried that? Or, don't do this, do this. You're not allowed to. It's literally against guidelines, which feels alien. But
you could give out the wrong advice, couldn't you?
well, that's why I guess that's why you don't.
I wouldn't want to put my money on it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, go try this, mate. You'll be fine.
The fascinating thing, though, Dan, is it's given me the insight of the power of just listening.
Yeah.
And that's why the two, like with the shout at that actually, the Talking Tradesman clothing line that's now live were the two messages I've gone for, being let's talk and let's listen.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the power of listening. And one of the analogies was that just listening to somebody's problems is like somebody having a laundry basket that's just come out of the tumble dryer. All the clothes are all mixed up. The thought process again, you don't really know what you're thinking. Letting somebody talk about their problems is like taking each item out of that basket, folding it neatly, putting it on the side.
Yeah.
By the end of the conversation, the clothes are all still there. Problems are all still there.
Yeah.
But they're now folded neatly and stacked in order. And then, you look at the two and which one do you feel better about?
Exactly.
And it is that process of just offloading. Sometimes it don't make nothing go away. Like you talking about this tonight, can't change what happened 10 years ago.
Exactly.
But you can make more sense of it.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, that's what therapy is as well. They just hold space for you. I was scared when I first did therapy. I was like, "Oh, what are they going to do? Like, open me up and get me to talk about all the dark thoughts and shit?" And I'm just like, I don't want to do that. But it's not. You just chat with them, and then they sort of ask you questions, but in a way that gets you to think in your own head, and then you internalize it, and then you say it out loud, and you're like, "Oh yeah, shit." And maybe that's what that was. Oh, that's why I reacted how I reacted that time.
Yeah.
Because that's how I learned how to deal with it,
It's fascinating though, mate. I love, I've never had therapy. I probably should. I probably definitely
I think
should.
everyone should have therapy.
Yeah.
Even if you're happy.
Yeah, 100%.
You should have therapy because you can talk about your happy stuff and you can be even happier, Or there might be something there why you're super happy and you didn't know. So like there's always stuff to talk about.
If we thought about mental health the same way we talk about physical health, it's the equivalent of going to the gym for your brain, isn't it?
Exactly.
Have therapy, make sure you're looking after your brain, even if that's just a little MOT and check up to go, your levels are sweet, carry on, you're doing well.
Exactly.
But they might pick up any issues before they become big issues. That's quite often the thing with mental health is that things will start off very small and is the weight of that thought or feeling gets heavier the longer you hold on to it.
You know what it is for me? It's just they all stack on top of each other and they just become unbearable. That's where you get to them dark places because you're like, it's all just stacked up now. I've not told anyone about anything. It's now at a boiling point, and you either explode or you implode. There's no other way to deal with it.
To touch into that then, mate, because obviously I saw your business grow and everything seemed to be going well. And it did get to a point then when you shut it all down and you openly said that, like, due to your mental health, you were stepping away from it. Tell me about that period. Like, how did it get to that and all the rest of it?
So, I mean, even as the business is running, I was still struggling with my mental health. I've been struggling. I'm still struggling. Like, I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm still struggling. But there was a certain thing that happened that just, I thought everything was going so well and I was happy and I had this purpose. That's a big thing for me, is like, if I ain't got a purpose, I'm not interested in it.
Mate, that's massive for anyone.
And it's like,
we all need purpose.
You need a purpose. Yeah. That's why I can just stay in bed so long, because I'm like, it's only me. I've only got to deal with myself. But yeah, I split up with my ex-partner. I thought that was going to be my life. Like, I had everything planned for my future. You know, I was like, oh, this is that. I've got the business. It's going to grow. Obviously got my partner. We're going to get a house, all this kind of stuff. And it just ended. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? And trying to run a business and also sort of grieve a loss, it was impossible. I ended up losing the people that were working for me. And then I was back by myself and I just wasn't enjoying it. I was lonely again. And that's the biggest thing for me in this industry, is the loneliness. I don't work on sites. I don't do any of that work. I'm all domestic. I'm by myself.
Even on site, though, the painter, last man in. So, yeah. Interestingly, and stats that I'll keep repeating, when it comes to the construction industry, which is the worst industry by demographic to be in for male suicide, painters, decorators and plasterers are the worst affected trades.
Yeah.
So the statistics are the worst for those trades, and it's both of the finishing trades, both of the trades that are most likely to work alone.
Yeah.
And I personally, like, I always ask my guests the question of, why do you think it's so adversely affected, like in the trades? But me personally, I think that solitude and isolation is huge. And as you said, with our trade, you're alone a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're your way inclined, my way inclined, you overthink, that's a lot of time to be in your own headspace.
It really, really gets to you. And that was, at that point, I was like, well, I built this business to provide this sort of life. I don't need that life anymore. Why am I doing it? Why am I bothering? And then, I mean, to be fair, it's the best thing that ever could have happened for me, to be honest with you, because I feel like I had like attachment issues. So like, I needed people around me. Again, it's like the validation stuff. I needed people to be around me all the time. And without that happening, I wouldn't have learned how to deal with solitude and actually start to lean into it a little bit more and enjoy my own company. Because I'm really starting to enjoy my own company. Yes, it can be overwhelming sometimes because I'm crazy up here. But without what happened, I would still just be relying on people.
It's a powerful thing, mate. Like, I've seen the evolution in you. And like, you know, with what you did by going off traveling on your own, and that's something that a lot of people that haven't got the struggles that you've got would struggle with. Do you know what I mean? That's quite a big thing, traveling on your own.
I would have never, ever dreamed of doing that. I always wanted to do it, but I thought I'd always do it with someone.
Yeah.
And, mate, I didn't, when I was a little bit younger, let's say like meeting up with a girl for a date, I'd make an excuse not to go because the anxiety would be so high. I'd make excuses like, oh no, I feel ill, or oh no, I can't do that. And I'd get really nervous about everything I did. Meeting new people, hated it. I was good at it, which is now what I'm learning, is like, I'm good at it. I'm good at talking to people and meeting new people. But I hated it back then. And for me to then go, do you know what? I'm going to go halfway around the world by myself to meet people. Like, to this day, I don't understand how I did it. But it started off with the America trip. Brian from Pretty Boy.
Shout out to Brian.
Shout out to Brian from Pretty Boy. Guy's been my saviour. I'll be totally honest with you.
I've got a lot of time for Brian, mate. I've met Brian a few times.
Yeah.
Even a couple of weeks ago, I was at a wedding with Brian,
Yeah.
and he's always got really good things to say about you. So
He's been like my mentor because he's been through some shit as well. He's been like my mentor because at the time when I was going through some shit, I was selling Pretty Boy and helping him come to the UK. And he basically said to me, he's like, Dan, come to America. I'm doing this event, Pretty Boy Paint Fest, which is actually happening in like the end of July. So if you want to go to New York, I'm going to go. If you want to come with me, come with me. But yeah, and he was like, just come. And I was like, oh, that means getting on a plane by myself and meeting. Even though I'd spoken to Brian on the phone, I've not seen him in person. So I was still nervous as hell. I was like, I'm going to be in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was in a shell. But then I got there and met him. I met another great guy called James, who I ended up working with for like 3-4 months. And like, I've got family out there now. It really feels like I've got family out there now. And I really just opened up while I was out there. And that sort of just gave me the confidence to go, do you know what? Let's try some backpacking. Let's see what that's like. And then I've just, for the last couple of years, I've just been traveling around and trying to just grow as a person. And my confidence levels have definitely gone from like down here to like, I'm a lot more confident.
I can see that, mate.
Yeah.
I can see that in you.
I'm where I think I should be, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I always knew I was secretly confident inside, but I could never show it. But now I'm getting to that point where I'm like, this is the real Dan.
Yeah.
I can just go and talk to anyone.
Well, talking actually about that, mate, I mean, like I say, I can see the difference. I mean, years gone by, I did a bit of business coaching, and Dan did came and had like an hour's coaching on bits of his business. Mate, you're a different man. Like the person that I spoke to on that hour's call is very, very different to the person sat across from me today. And you were more nervous about things. I can see the confidence in you now.
I wouldn't have done this.
It's great.
I would not have done this.
Yeah.
If you asked me, I'd be like, no, I'm all right, mate. Cheers.
It's great to see, mate. It really is. Like, obviously, like I say, it's been weird because I've been watching all this on social media. It's that weird Truman Show thing going on.
It really feels like it.
You've got that insight into somebody's life, and I've seen you go to America with Brian and them guys, and saw you working out there, and then saw you, go off to was it Thailand?
I went to Thailand. Yeah. I went there twice. First time was as a holiday, and then second time was recently. I went and I said, you know what? What would make me more confident? Let me go and work in a party hostel for 3 months. What? I have to talk to people.
Well, yeah.
And that's literally all I did. I had to talk to people every day. Jesus.
I know, it's a bit loud, mate.
What was that? I had to talk to people every day. I had to approach people.
So was that like repping? Essentially, you were repping?
It was, as a rep, basically. But like in the hostel.
Yeah.
It's like this is the thing. You spoke to me 2 years, 3 years ago, right? I would never have done half of the stuff that I did out there. Okay. Getting on a microphone and taking like quiz night in front of 40 people, 50 people. No, I wouldn't have done that. Absolutely not. Like doing beer pong with everyone, like telling them all the rules, making sure everyone is watching me and like I'm telling them, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do. Would not have done it at all. And I did all of that and I did it sober. A lot of people do that shit drunk, I did it sober. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it. This is what I want to do. I want to like entertain people and I feel like I'm good at it. So let me just try it. What's the worst that can happen? I loved it. Doing the quiz night, absolutely loved it. I thought I was brilliant. And I feel completely different. I think we met like at a paint and decorating show ages ago. And I was literally like, I didn't want... Because at this point, I was like, I was growing on Instagram. I've been doing it for so long now. It's ridiculous. But I've been so on and off with it that I'm just not where I want to be. But I'll get there. But literally, I was just like, I went to the paint and decorating show and there's people that I knew online and they're like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to see you. And I was just like, I don't want to see anyone. Yeah. I'm just walking around quietly and just avoiding people because I didn't know what to say. Yeah. I just felt, I don't know, like I felt like an imposter. I was like, I'm just, whatever.
It's a weird one, mate. It is a weird one. I've had little snippets of it. I mean, I was at that trade show last week, but I was actually like on a stand exhibiting, which was mad. I said to the missus, I was like, I didn't even think I was like the podcast was born 6 months ago, and here I am at a trade show on a stand exhibiting. like my own clothing range.
Yeah.
How has this happened?
It can happen so quick,
It's
though.
bizarre, mate.
Like the
Yeah.
Instagram at the minute is just a lot of people have just blown up.
And that whole thing of people coming up to you that you don't know, and saying like, "Oh, I've seen your stuff." It's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
it
like
really
when,
is.
because I am like honest about my mental health and stuff, the amount of people that have messaged me privately and been like, "Dan, mate, I'm struggling as well," and we've had conversations and stuff.
That's
Or
the
they're
beauty
like,
of it, mate.
Dan, been watching you for ages. Just want to say like, proud of you, keep going and all that. And it's like it feels fucking weird. It really does. But it's like I feel like I've got people watching my back out there.
Yeah.
And it's so nice. It's such a nice feeling. That's why I love social media. I feel like everyone should be doing it because the opportunities that I've had from social media have been ridiculous. I never thought
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone to America if I didn't have social media. I wouldn't have met Brian. I wouldn't be here right now because I would have just been painting somewhere.
All credit to you for doing it, though, mate. I mean, I know that you were saying about your confidence levels and the fact that you felt like you didn't want to speak to people. I can't remember who I spoke to. I was having this conversation the other day where I said, although it feels like social media's blown up, there's still such a small percentage of people that go camera like front facing. It took me ages to do it. Like, you start putting pictures of your work, you're like, that's easy, I'll hide behind the camera. Yeah. But then maybe a little selfie sneaks in, and then you do your first video where you're like face on, you're like 20 takes before you post anything. Now, obviously, I don't give a shit. Yeah. I'll just be like, blah 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 blah, send.
Oh mate, I just waffle a bag of shit.
Yeah,
it's the best. It's the best time. I have the best time ever. I'll just be sitting in my car, just like if I've just got, I'll just talk about whatever is on my mind at the time.
But it's the most authentic, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
But it does take some getting used to.
It's like a second job.
So easy, yeah.
That's why I because when I quit the business, I basically quit Instagram as well. Like I didn't want to do anything. I was like, I don't know what to do with life.
Credit to you though, mate.
I was honestly in such a shit place at the time.
As I say, that there aren't that many that do it.
No,
there really aren't. And I agree with you. I think everyone should, but there's not that many that are comfortable with it in the way that you are.
Nah.
But the problem is the ones that are, everyone knows.
This is the thing, yeah. So like, I feel like I've still got a. There's a gap in the market for Dan. I'm a firm believer of like, it's abundant. Everyone should be getting their flowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the funniest. You've got like people like Foxy and stuff who are funny. They're the funny decorators. I'm not the best decorator. I'll admit that. You've got like Wesley Knight, who's and you as well. But you got like Wesley Knight, who's he just puts incredible shit out.
Yeah,
and it's like, right, so I'm not going to be the amazing decorator online. I'm not going to be like the funniest decorator online. The how-to videos I don't really want to do because it's just it's not for me. I've done them and they've done well, but I want to move away from that. And I'm like, how am I going to break this market? And I'm just going to lean into being myself because that's how I started. That's how I grew to where I grew to. It was just by doing stories, showing people my day, fucking up stuff. The amount of mistakes I made that I just filmed because I was like, oh, well, it probably happens to everyone. That's why people then started following me and was like messaging me and stuff like, oh, we love that you're just so honest about everything. I'm not trying to be perfect for Instagram.
Let's be honest though, Dan. If you look, and you hit the nail on the head earlier in the conversation where you said you're the best you.
Yeah.
So, but you look at all the other people that are there that everyone knows the names of, like Foxy, like Kev, Paint Warrior, Wes, the bigger social media decorating accounts, they've all got one thing in common. They're all just being themselves. Like they're all doing their own thing. If you or I were to try and be Foxy, it would not work.
Nah.
But for him, it works because that's him. That's who he is. Same as Kev. Like if I was to try and do the same content that Kev does, it wouldn't work because that's who he is. And that's why like I've found like doing the podcast and this kind of stuff. This is me. This is what I enjoy doing and talking about, and it's been well received so far. Yeah. So nail on head, mate. That's a good bit of advice.
That's just what I'm gonna do. Just lean into yourself. So like I've learned about myself. I love to moan. It's like my favorite thing ever. But like, I'm a good moaner, right? I'm not like a miserable...
funny moaner.
Yeah. Like, I'm not like a miserable, do you know what? This is so terrible. I hate life right now. It's like, that was shit. Why do they bother with this? I mean, I feel like I'm quite entertaining when I'm on, and I'm not the best, but I love learning. So I'm just going to lean into that. Like I would love to do this. Someone might steal this idea, but I would love to do sort of like an on the go podcast, right? Where I go around because I travel, right? I travel. I'm pretty much traveling all the time at the minute. I would love to travel around, do this podcast with people, and they just teach me shit. I'd go to like someone who knows how to do like gold leaf and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they teach me how to do it. Someone who's got a really big business that's grown it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Give me some tips.
Why
give me
not,
some
mate?
whatever.
Why not?
To help other people as well. Because I'm not going to go out there and be like, I can help you do this. Because I don't know. I'm not going to lie to people and be like, I'm the best decorator ever. This is how you do all of this shit. The best. Because what's the point?
Mate, you're how can I put it? In the nicest way possible, you're a normal man going through normal shit and being very open about the stuff that a lot of people pretend doesn't happen.
Exactly.
You know, talks about your anxieties, your fears and worries and inadequacies or fears of inadequacy, which are a lot of things, again, stereotypically as a bloke, you try and hide all that.
Yeah.
You're like, nah, I'm sound, I'm a big hard man.
Well, I'm so open with it. Like, I ask the stupid questions. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to ask the stupid questions because they will feel stupid. I'm like, you know what? I'm just asking them.
But I guarantee
people laugh it all the time. It's great.
If you come up with a question, there's hundreds of people that are thinking the same thing, if not thousands.
Exactly.
All doing the same, which unfortunately is that toxic side of it where people do get scared to put their vulnerabilities online. Like, do you know what, lads? I don't know this.
Yeah.
Because there are that small proportion of people that will jump on it and go, well, if you don't know it, you shouldn't be in the trade.
Yeah. I'm sort of learning to love them guys as well, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
TikTok's amazing.
TikTok, mate. One of the things, so TikTok, so with me, mate, I had my painting of the RDP. I never even mentioned that on my day. Do you know what? I did
that. Decorator. He does some decorating sometimes.
I did that trade show, and about half a dozen people said to me, so what did you do before you do this? I'm like, I'm a decorator. Never. So
can I just interrupt 1 second? Weird. These lids are fucking ridiculous.
Oh, they are stupid.
I don't know why they've done this.
Hence why I've left mine just on the kilt over there.
Just bloody, sorry.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. As you're moaning.
Stupid.
They are stupid
fucking design.
I don't even understand the purpose.
It makes zero sense.
Meant to keep it with the bottle for recycling. Well, I don't know what else we were going to do with the lid anyway.
Yeah. Sorry.
But so people coming up to me not knowing I was a decorator. I don't even know why I was talking about that. What was I talking about?
Sorry,
the RDP side.
Interrupted you.
No idea. Where I was going
saying how people didn't know he was a decorator.
Yeah, at the show, which was novel. I kind of just assumed people knew that I was a decorator. But then when I think about it logically, actually, there's a lot of people probably coming to the platform now that have only known me for doing this.
Yeah, we were talking about TikTok. That's where the conversation started.
Yeah. Sorry.
So obviously something's happened to you.
It was just the only real social media that I did was the RDP, the decorators on Instagram and Facebook, just because I linked. So I had never even attempted anything like TikTok. It just was not my platform. But building the podcast, I'm like, right, I need to hit all the platforms and grow each one because, again, the mission is to try and bring as many people in to listen as possible. And I was like, well, there's a demographic over there. I can't just ignore it. It's weird, mate.
You'd be surprised by the demographic over there.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's for children. It's not for children.
So many that...
The amount of old geezers that have jumped on my post and just moaned at me for doing shit.
It is so much more brutal, though, I think. Instagram's nicer.
Instagram is nicer. But I love TikTok. It just gives me like, I enjoy back and forths. I don't know why. I just really
like the fact that you can highlight the comment and reply to it.
I like a bit of an argument. I like a bit of an argument, but like a funny argument, you know. The amount of like people the other day I posted something about using oil-based paints. I was like, get rid of them. They're shit. The amount of people is like, water-based paint is shit. You're not a real decorator because you use water-based. And I was like, mate, really?
Yeah.
And it's like some of it's just hilarious to reply to. But
it's kind of
again, I would everyone needs to be on social media because
I completely agree, mate.
The opportunities, whether that's like you don't have to do what certain people do, like try and be A brand, like for me personally, I'm trying to build me as a brand, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be doing the decorating for the rest of my life. It's a brutal job. It can be very brutal. I'd like to do other stuff.
Yeah, I can
But
sympathise with that.
if you do have a decorating business, just putting yourself in front of the camera, you don't have to try and be charismatic or any of this stuff. Just being yourself, it actually breaks a barrier, because your customers see you. It goes back to like the whole anxiety thing, right? If I was hiring someone and I was a bit anxious and I didn't know what they look like, but if I've seen you online and I feel like I've met you already, that just stops the anxiety. You know what I mean?
Completely agree. Yeah, I think social media now, when it comes to business, it is the marketing powerhouse.
100%.
There's nothing else now.
And it's free.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
Anyone that says that you don't, well, you're missing out on a lot. As you say, not everybody's going to be front facing, but even if you just post a selfie, buy a tripod's like 15 quid off Amazon, set your phone on timer, just put a selfie on every few months.
You don't even have to do that, right? With the Instagram and stuff now, they got the pinned feature, yeah? If you've got a business, right, have the first pinned picture of you, and then put a little description, who you are, what you like, what you do. Your customers will see that the first thing as they go on your page. Like, okay, that's the guy who will be coming around to quote, or girl, sorry. You've broken the barrier.
I agree, mate.
And then you can post whatever you like. Just post your work. If you do really incredible work, post your work. You never know what's going to come from it. I posted because I was just, like I said, I was lonely and I wanted to share my experience with someone. I didn't know who I was sharing it with. I just posted on a whim. I was like, this might not even do. I might not even get any followers. I could just be talking to myself. But I look back and I've now seen my journey. So I've just documented myself.
It's nice actually to look back. I do the same. I look back at some of my early Instagram posts and I'm like, wow, I've come a long way. Even if I just look and think, yeah, my phone camera's got better.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
First few were filmed on a potato.
Yeah.
But it does take, but just start somewhere. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's actually, mate, before I forget, because we're doing great at drifting off here.
Yeah.
I want to give you, Dan, the floor. I want to give you the platform to put right what happened with a certain 3-letter television or agency, because I know there's a bit of an issue there. Talk to me about that, Dan.
So we've half cleared it up, right? Because I got a call the other day. So I was on the BBC. Okay, I did this day it was a charity day where they basically had this morning people come and have a chat about mental health and stuff. It's like a charity for mental health. I feel horrible because I can't actually remember the name of the charity, but it was a great day out. Okay, I met Nick Knowles, and we had like a 45-minute interview
of
like
DIY SOS fame.
Yeah, that geezer. And you know what? I went there. I was so excited for this. I was like, I'm going to be on the BBC. I'm going to talk to Nick Knowles. It's like sort of celebrity-ish.
No, he is. Yeah, in credit, mate. He is a celeb, yeah.
I was like, this is cool. And the day went great. Okay. We spoke for 45 minutes about mental health. And I personally feel like I had some absolute gems that they could have used. And then it got to the point where they actually posted, like they played it on the One show. I told everyone, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be on the BBC. Like, make sure you tune in and watch me. And they did everything that I told them not to do. I was like to them, there's, oh, do you have any like worries or anything? I was like, yeah, don't make me look like I'm just some depressed geezer that hates his life. And they just made me look like I was some depressed geezer that hated my life. They started the whole thing off by saying, oh, he's just had a breakup and now he's depressed. And I was like, mate, you've basically just taken my life and discredited everything. I wasn't depressed because I broke up with my ex. I was depressed because I've been dealing with this shit since I was younger.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to be in a bad place at the time. And they chose me for that because I was so open about it. And it just, for me, I did so much work to try and get over certain things. and to try and become a better version of myself. At that point, I was like, yeah, I can go on TV and I can talk about mental health because I'm happy to. I'm not in a bad place anymore. I'm actually in a good place. So let's do it. And then I watched it and I was like, they've absolutely fucking butchered me. We spoke for ages and they just took so much of it out of context. It's unreal. Obviously, at the start, there was like, yeah, he had a breakup, now he's depressed. So that just straight away, just like, well, okay, whatever. Everyone goes through breakups. Doesn't make us all depressed. And then secondly, there was like, oh yeah, he's struggling with his business and like he can't afford his van payments and stuff.
They said that?
They said that because I said that, but they
Yeah.
took it out of context.
Yeah.
None of the context was there at all. And because I was like to them, oh yeah, so because I went through all of this shit and I wasn't feeling great, obviously I started missing work, which obviously meant van payments are behind. And like it starts to get on top of you. All of it starts to get on top of you. And they just cut the dramatic bits. I know it's TV, right? And I know they're supposed to. But I was just like, mate, you've absolutely butchered me here. And then there was like, I don't know how. It's like I don't know if they said something about suicide or whatever. I basically is like I said at the end of one of my conversations with him, I was like, it got to the point where I was just like, I don't think I want to be here anymore. In terms of that, and they've just cut that one bit. So first of all, I'm depressed because I've just come out of a relationship. Secondly, I'm broke and I can't afford my van, which again is embarrassing, right? And then third thing is like I'm now suicidal. I'm like, okay, how is this like? It might help people because they think that, oh, look at this guy, his life's so shit, but you've embarrassed the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah.
just to touch on it, if I was still in a shit place and I watched that, that would have sent me over the edge. That would have been full on embarrassment. I would have been like, do you know what?
Yeah.
Well, it's on public TV now and everyone thinks I'm this.
They've shown no consideration to you there at all, mate, have they?
No. And you know me as a person, like I'm quite a cheerful person, you know, like obviously I'll talk about this stuff because I've been there.
Yeah.
Like there were points where I did not want to be here.
And at least I'd have thought they should have sent you the edit and gone, look, Dan, can you give this a green light? Or is there anything that you're not happy with?
Or been like, oh, do you know what? There's a link to the whole interview if you want to watch the whole interview or something along them lines, you know? But it wasn't. It was very much, let's just make it as dramatic as possible.
Yeah.
And I was the
fall guy on it.
The fall guy, basically. And they messaged me recently. They're going to replay it.
Do you have faith they're going to do you justice?
Basically, I said to them, I said all this to them. I was like, you've basically just discredited my whole life because you're saying that I was depressed because of that. And they was like, okay, like we're so sorry to hear that. Like we'll do better next time. We can edit that bit out where it says that you're because of the partner thing. That was the bit that got me the most because I was just like, a breakup didn't make me depressed. I stressed that to him loads. I was like, that pushed me back into where I was before. Like I'd been in a dark place before. I'd done all this work that just pushed me back. But that wasn't the main reason.
I've been
through so much shit. And so they basically said they're not going to play that bit. So, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever work.
Wait and see.
I don't think I'll ever work with the BBC again.
Do you know what though, mate? You hear about all these like dodgy edits and that, and celebrities come out and they're like, "It wasn't said like that. I didn't say it." Or they cut half a sentence and join up another. You don't expect them to do it to like, you know, a normal bloke.
No, I was so embarrassed, man. I like my family watching it, all that kind of shit. I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to be on the TV, guys. And I had such a good day where I was like, this was so good. Like I've said some really good stuff. I wish I could find the interview because it was a really good in-depth chat. And then I was just like, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah.
That was great.
How much did they cut it down? If we're talking 45 minutes, how much did they cut it down
Mate,
to?
I had like 50-second screen time.
Oh, Jesus.
Something
So they just
maybe a minute. I might have had a minute screen time. But they've just taken every bad thing that I've said, chopped it up, and gone, yeah, that's perfect.
It screams to me, Dan, that whoever did the editing there hasn't got a good conception of mental health.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've just gone for the big hit, like boom, boom, boom. But as you said,
that could have quite easily sent someone over the edge.
Yeah,
because it's on public TV.
And, I mean, I know the answer to this question, mate. But after they published it, and I say I know it, you haven't told me, but I can predict it. After they published it and put it out there, did anyone check in with you from the BBC? How are you feeling?
No.
Anything?
No.
There you go. They don't give a shit, mate.
Not one. I had obviously a call the other day, just been like, oh, we're going to replay
many
it.
Months later.
Oh, mate, this was like last year, or might have even been 2 years ago. But I was like, yeah, it was very important, so we're going to replay it on this other show. Luckily, it's like daytime, so I don't know who's going to be watching it, but I'm definitely not posting about it. The worst part is I did it for free as well. I was like, do you know what? It's such a good message.
Yeah,
I'm very open about my mental health. I want to help other people. Let's do it. And then
it's another valuable lesson, listeners. Stay away from the BBC.
Yeah, don't go on the BBC. Unless it's Dragon's Den. Dragon's Den's pretty cool. So I would do Dragon's Den, but apart from that, don't ever talk to me again, BBC.
Do you know what, mate? So it's actually like it's one of the things I love about podcasts is that it's like an authentic long form communication where you can give somebody the platform and opportunity. It's very hard to misconstrue. That's that word, construe?
Yeah, you said it right.
Misconstrue information on a long form podcast because you can say something that you could take, basically you get opportunity to provide the context to everything you say.
Yeah.
So it can't really be. And that's why nobody so far, I mean, Daniel's still got time, nobody so far has caused any kind of controversy or kickback because there's always the context. 100% I could edit certain podcasts and pull out certain bits and make it like really... And I have this battle actually, because if you've seen the socials, I do put out like, 90 seconds or 1 minute clips. And there's always that internal bit with me going, it's clickbaity, but I'm like, but that's that's why I'm doing it, because it's to bring people to listen to the episode, then they get the full context. I always try to be as respectful as I can. Yeah. But at times you do have to play the game a bit.
I'm sure you've got some stuff here that you can clip up and get some interesting.
I'll tell you, the only thing I never do though, I never take like what you say here and join it to what you say over here.
Yeah.
So it'll be, if it is like a minute or 90-second clip, it will be a minute of continual dialogue. I don't like go where he says one thing and it's like, I hate what.
Yeah, I hate the BBC.
Yeah, and I'd take it and make like I hate puppies. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's I don't do anything like that, but it's a weird one. It really is, because it conflicts me, but at the same time, with the purpose and the nature of it, you have to play like you were saying, the social media game.
You do, because I mean, at the end of the day, you could say something, you could post it, it could go viral, and then bang.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I had one video, and it's got like 12.5 million views. Didn't expect it, and then
the numbers are
sort of
it's the way
it's
I see it, to fully vindicate myself, is that it's great having this resource, this podcast here, but if nobody knows it's here, it can't do any good.
Exactly.
So the social media side of the podcast is there to promote it, to bring new people in that might see a 90-second or 1 minute clip and think, that's interesting, I'll give that a listen. Yeah. And then they might stay. You know what I mean? So that's the whole sort of process behind it. It's all the whole system. And it's one of the things I learned about doing a podcast. I thought it would just be, let's just have a conversation with somebody. Yeah. Then you've got the cameras and the lights and the, everything that comes along with it.
Yeah. And I hope I look good on this camera.
Mate, so you're over there.
I can't. My eyes are terrible, mate. I can't see that. It's way too small.
You can see the outline of you, mate. It's I think you're looking good, Dan, from over here. There's somebody else that needs glasses. I think we're okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, where did we get to? So the whole BBC thing has been cleared up. Dan does not like the BBC.
No, I'm not a huge fan of you guys.
Mate, let's talk about your travelling. That's one thing I did want to talk about, because nobody works in a party hostel for 3 months without some stories. Okay,
So
let
I'm a
let me
good
set you up
boy.
here.
I'm a good boy.
What's I'm not saying for you yourself. What's the worst thing you saw while you were working in the party hostel?
It's not. Do you know? It's not like the worst thing I saw, yeah, but it just puts me off of even trying to get into a relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man, it's just, mate, everyone's just out there just doing the same. Oh yeah, it's not.
No.
Everyone's shagging each other's.
Yeah.
There'd be girls with boyfriends, blokes with girlfriends. There's just on holiday. They're getting drunk and yeah,
Not
yeah.
much faithfulness occurring.
Nah, yeah. My trust, my trust has gone way, way down.
Took a massive
Um,
hit.
yeah, so I won't be doing any sort of dating anytime soon.
Well, maybe,
Um,
is a caveat to it, maybe just don't date people that go to party hostels.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going out there to find the love of my life. Didn't happen.
Was that on the
Nah,
list?
no,
I was going to say.
no, no, absolutely not. No, it was a great experience though. Like some wild stuff happened. You get characters.
Yeah.
It's it's very interesting. Just I like people watching, and because I don't really drink or anything, when you go out with drunk people and you just watch, you learn a lot about people. It was just a very interesting time. I learned a lot about myself. I thought I'd go out there and be completely different to who I actually was. Like, I thought I was going to go out there and shag everything, and I just realized it's never been me.
Yeah.
It never will be me. So I just didn't, and I didn't get absolutely smashed every night. I got drunk a few nights. Like the last night I was working, they do like a challenge board for you. That's probably the worst thing I saw while I was working at a party hostel was me. Like looking back at the videos of me like dancing on a stripper pole
Yeah.
in speedos. It's probably the worst thing I saw of my trip to the to the
replay.
party hostel because I was absolutely wankered that night. Yeah, and I lost my favorite shirt as well. It was an upsetting. It was great fun. Like you got to blow off steam every now and again. But yeah, like there was nothing crazy. Just some
That's
weird
good.
characters.
Yeah.
Just get a lot of weird characters. Yeah, but it was great fun.
I mean,
I recommend to anyone.
You sort of like travelled round a bit, mate. I mean, where's your favourite place? What was the best place that you went to?
This trip,
Well,
just in
no, in
general.
total, mate. In total. So I've seen you do America. I've seen you do Thailand. I've seen Bali.
I went to Bali for a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
And Australia. So out of your sort of like most recent travelling of the last couple of years,
Yeah.
if there was one place that you could click your fingers and go back to in an instant, where would it be?
Got two answers for this, right? If I could click my fingers and just be there right now, it'd be Bali
Okay.
because it was phenomenal. Like the weather was great, and being in a party hostel for 3 months, going to Bali and actually relaxing, I've never felt like bliss like it. Like I met a friend there. We played golf on the cliff tops, like overlooking the ocean.
I think I saw that.
Actually, I ate some really good food. I was just like staying in all these bougie places, and I was like, "This is amazing. I could live like this." That's how I would want my life to be. Okay, just eating steaks every night and playing golf. I mean, I need to make some money first, but one day that'll happen. But then also America. I just feel like I fit in more there. It's definitely the country for me.
Okay.
When I was younger, my nan took us to Florida. I think I was like 11. And ever since that moment, I fell in love with the country. I've been back many times. And then obviously I've been there and I've done a bit of work out there. And I've like got a community out there. And I don't know what it is, but I just feed off of their energy. Because they're also extroverted and positive on the outside. I feed off of that and I become who I said I am.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, it's very much reserved, and I'm a lot more reserved in England. I'm not as like outgoing and stuff. So I just feel like America is the place for me. I'm hoping to go back at the end of next month, and that's going to really tell me if I'm going to live out there or if I'm going to live here. So I'm in a very weird space in my life right now. I'm either going to be, because I haven't got, I'm staying on my in my mate's spare bedroom, like working out of a car because I've sold all my van and all that kind of stuff. Like doing bits and bobs. I've not got a home. I haven't had a home in like 2 years now, which has been the rough part of it. And I'm now at the point where I should probably settle down somewhere because it's like I need a base, you know? I can't just keep sleeping on people's sofas and doing all that. So I need to figure out if I'm going to live in America, I'm going to need to do all the stuff to do that. Or if I'm just going to build my business back here,
Yeah.
live here. So
Exciting times, though,
that's
mate.
yeah, that's me. That's me going forward.
I can see you going out to America, personally, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I reckon so. And I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna really try and push this content. I'm getting a lot more confident on the camera. I've
Out of interest,
had a
mate,
moment.
another question for you. If the content wasn't there, so basically, do you enjoy doing painting content or do you enjoy doing painting? Like, if the content wasn't an option, social media didn't exist, yeah,
Yeah,
or you weren't, say you had an allergy to phones,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you can't go
yeah.
on it. Would you still be a painter and decorator if it wasn't for the content side of it?
Um, I would have done what I did. I would have become a painter and decorator.
Mm,
I did enjoy it at first. Like I said, I got locked in. I was enjoying learning,
yeah.
and right now, no, probably not,
Mm,
because I'm at a point now it's just getting a little bit boring.
mm,
Like nothing's exciting me enough about the actual painting.
yeah.
That's why I sort of do the whole sideline of trying to do the content and stuff. But I don't really know what else I'm good at the minute. So I'm trying to
Mm,
figure out where I'm going to go from here. For the time being, I'm pretty good at painting. It gives me money. I
instant then, mate.
need
Yeah.
money, so I'm just doing that at the minute until
I resonate.
something hits me in the face
Mm,
and goes, you know what? There's your calling. I
I
don't
could,
feel like decorating is my calling.
yeah.
Ever since I was younger, I've like always been very, very ambitious. Like I want to be this great person. I just don't
Mm.
think decorating quite covers that.
I can resonate with it, Dan, in terms of the process. And I've said this for years. Like, I could never be a decorator working for anyone else because the actual process of doing the job,
Mm,
although I don't dislike it, it wouldn't be enough to hold me. It's
mm,
for me, it's the growing a business, the customer interaction that, I've got mentioned it before, but like profit lines, making money.
yeah,
That's what I love. So having my own business, I love.
yeah,
The actual process of the physical, painting
yeah.
walls and all the rest of it, that wouldn't hold me.
No,
So I would struggle to, like I say, I could never do it for anyone else
no,
unless it was a means to an end. But yeah, it was just an interest. I was just wondering because I see the passion in you when it comes to your content and
yeah.
stuff. I was just wondering whether it was, necessarily. Do you have to stick with decorating? Could you do content around anything else in the industry? Or
That's what I mean. Like if I can sort of get this podcast slash content off the ground where I just go around, whether that's the UK or in America. I might even do some of it when I go to America. I might just start and see what happens.
mm,
Um, just go and work with people. I don't mind working with people.
you could
Working
literally,
for people,
yeah,
I'm not a massive fan. But when I was in America, I was working for some absolutely amazing guys, and I
mm,
enjoyed the work days. I don't like the business side of things
okay,
because it
yeah,
just confuses the hell out of me. I don't know about like taxes and profit margins and all that kind of stuff.
mm,
Again, it's like I'd ask you so many stupid questions about it. I just have no clue.
mm,
I like learning. I like trying new things. That's what keeps me engaged. So why don't I just go around, really lean into the traveling thing, go work
mm.
with painters elsewhere.
Lean into
I
your
could
strengths, mate.
I
Yeah,
can also go work with some carpenters or some
yeah, yeah.
plasterers, and then like we can banter each other.
Dan,
I've then got
yeah,
content for the daytime that we're working with each other. Maybe we do like a little, like a half an hour podcast where we talk
mm,
about. I'll think of a few ideas, or whatever. We can have like a cup of tea and just have a chat
yeah.
about some deeper stuff. But then I've also got the content of the day. Like this is what I mean. This is my brain's just
But
when I
mate,
talk about it, I just get on fire.
in
I've got so
America,
many,
Dan,
so many fucking ideas on my phone. It's unreal.
in America, mate, you've got so many options. You
Exactly.
wouldn't even have to limit it to the construction industry. Like there's so
Exactly.
many
I could go work for a
diverse.
barber for a day.
I was thinking a bit more extreme. I was thinking like a rodeo farm or
I could
something. You know what I mean?
exactly. I could
That's
do
what I
that.
mean. There's all these
Yeah.
niche like things where you could go and pick up a
Yeah.
few days or a week's work and get some like really good content.
But also I like helping people. That's really important to me. It's like you. I like helping people. So if I can use my sort of naiveness and willing to learn to help other people learn through me, that's a win. If I'm going somewhere, let's say I've had this idea for ages. Let's say I go to work with a barber for a day or whatever. Yes, he's not in the trade, he's not in the industry, our industry, but I bet you that guy knows something about business that
Yeah,
might
yeah,
convert to the painter over there.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Or you could even do, as another idea, you could do like a skill exchange. So you
Skill
could do,
exchange, yeah.
where you go and do a bit of what they do.
Yeah.
In it, you could reach out and say, does anyone need any help with any decorating? Caveat is,
Yeah.
I want to come and work on your farm for a couple of days,
Yeah.
and then I'll show you how to do some painting.
Yeah.
It's like a flip.
That
Which again would make great content.
Would be amazing for me. So I mean, if anyone's listening, okay, all I need,
point it
right?
out there, man.
I can do it. I can do it in the UK. Okay. All I need is some people that are willing to either let me stay somewhere for free and like give me a couple of days worth of work because I'm still gonna have to eat, right? Or if someone's listening that's got a camper van and I could drive around the whole UK
Yeah.
and just sleep in a camper van and do as much content as I like.
Listen, I'm going to put this out here now. So when Dan's got his own TV program, not on the BBC,
not on the BBC, no.
and he's doing this skill exchange and getting all this great content, just know that idea was born right here on the Talking Tradesman podcast. So,
I mean, yeah, that's in a dream world. That would be it. That's my dream.
Why not, then, man? Why not?
I've just got to figure it out.
Yeah,
I've just got to figure it out.
Right.
I've got to learn how to.
Why not?
Because I've got to make money as well. I can't
Of
just.
course.
I can't just go and say I'm going to work with you for a day. When am I going to sleep?
Yeah.
What am I going to eat? Do you know what I mean? So I'd need people that are willing to either let me stay in their gaff on a sofa, or they know someone that's got a spare bed somewhere, and then we do it.
Ever mate, social media these days, there's so many avenues
Yeah.
with monetization, sponsorships, partnerships, promotions. Like there are genuinely ways to achieve these things.
And I also think, again, that leads into the whole, I need my space in the market. I don't want to be like any of these other guys. No one's doing that. That would be my gap.
I saw a video the other day actually about some bloke, and he had decided he wanted to build his own camper and travel somewhere, mate. I can't. It was like real outlandish. I don't know whether it was like drive around the world, or something like that. But he had just come up with a concept and then approached companies and got sponsorship and essentially raised like crowdfunded the money to do it. And it was all through YouTube, and he was like monetized on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's how easy it is to do it.
It sounds cheesy, doesn't it? But
I'm just very like business. I've got the ideas, right? I just need someone to come and help me put it into motion, because that's the bit I struggle with.
It's that thing, mate, that mindset flip, and I've had to do it myself recently. That why not? Rather than I can't do that. I don't know how to podcast. I'm still not a podcast host. I'm a painter and decorator. But that whole thing, and it's just that flip of why not? Like the clothing range recently. It started off with an idea of maybe because I've been sending all my guests away with guest merchandise like T-shirt, hoodie, that kind of thing as a thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So then somebody said to me, "Oh, you should do something you could buy," and I thought, well, maybe like a Talking Tradesman hoodie, that'd be sound. And then through a few conversations I had with some contacts, it was like, well, why don't you actually do a clothing line?
Yeah.
Like a proper clothing line. And I'm not going to lie, mate. The initial thing in my head was, what do you know about that? You can't do that.
Yeah.
But then, why not?
You just reached out to the people that could help you, right?
Yeah, so I've gone down the Richard Branson line and delegated it to a company that is what they do.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I think that's what I need to do. I've learned that I'm really not good with the whole business side of things.
Yeah.
But there are people that are, and there's a couple of different types of people, right? You've got like creative, just ideas people. That's me to a T. I can give you a million ideas today, like now. I've written them all down. Do you know what I mean?
Talk about this later, Dan.
Yeah. And then there's people who are good at doing the
The
what's the word?
implementation of
Yeah,
it.
like making it a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare that you can do both.
Yeah.
So I just need to find my person.
Yeah.
As soon as I find my person, it's cool. I'm gonna do it. For now, I'm just pumping out as much content as possible. Keep doing what I can do. I've got a bunch of great ideas. Well, I think they're great ideas, like some funny videos. I'm still trying to do this like day in the life type video, but that's just to keep me consistent.
Yeah.
The more I'm filming into a camera, even if I'm not feeling like it, there's been a few days where I just be like, fuck this. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? No one's watching it, but I'm doing it. And it meant like today I had to do some content. I walked into a store and I just turned it on. It all helps.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah,
I'm just going to keep plugging. My time will come. Like, you've not seen the last of me.
Mate, like you say, you've just got to keep moving forwards and keep trying. 100%, mate.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where you go. I've been interested watching, kind of stalkerish Truman Showish, watching your life over the last few years anyway, mate. But all credit to you, mate. And again, it's been great having you in. Before we wrap things up, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you wanted to talk about or bring onto the podcast?
To be honest, mate, I think we've covered pretty much everything
to date. This is very much a to be continued.
Today, yeah. You never know, right? Next year I could become a stripper. We don't know. We just don't know. I could be anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now that's my life. That's my story.
So far,
most people know half of the stuff I've said because I'm open about it.
Dan, do you know what, mate? And it sounds like a romantic notion here, but genuinely, when I started this, I did it. I'm not looking to get, 1,000 downloads an episode, 10,000 downloads an episode, and all the rest of it. Figures aren't the thing for me. I'm trying to put out authentic content with the genuine thought that if it helps one person, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And it is helping people. I'm getting some incredible messages back. But just having you in, you say, a lot of people have heard it, but they probably haven't heard it in such long form. They haven't heard the background of, where you got to. And it might have just joined a few things up and ticked a few boxes for people that will help. And, you'll probably find a lot of guests find that they get people reach out to them after this goes out. So,
I mean, again, I hope I've done all right. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Can't actually remember what I've spoken about, but
that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's been good. It's been good. I've enjoyed it.
Well, mate, I really appreciate your time. As usual, I'm going to get beggy now.
Oh yeah.
If you've listened this far, make sure you like, follow, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. I've put all this effort into this podcast. The least you can do is go and tick a box for me.
Just do it. Just do it.
It was that Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, do it.
That was it. The viral video.
Yeah. Just that's
how to go viral.
Just click the button.
Just click the button.
It's really not hard.
It helps me get to more people and get suggested to people, which is what we're all about.
And if you want to follow me, it's Rolfey Paints, okay?
Mate, that is one thing I haven't done. Dan, where can people find you?
You can find me. So if you want to talk to me, find me on Instagram.
Don't put your phone number on here, mate.
No, I won't put my phone number. Find me on Instagram at Rolfey Paints. If you want to banter with me about my videos and get in some arguments, then find me on TikTok at the same, at Rolfey Paints. TikTok seems to be where the arses go. And if you actually want to have like some good conversations with me, I reply to everyone. It's like a second job for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people. But yeah, Rolfey Paints. And guys, I just want to say one thing as well, right? Which we didn't touch. The whole social media thing, right? I talk to so many people online and like they've become my friends. I don't know what any of you look like. I have no clue what half of you look like because you don't post pictures of yourself online. So if I do ever see you and like you come up to me like we know each other and I look confused, it's just because I've never seen you in person. But I love you if we've spoken. Okay, we are friends.
On the back of Dan's advice, what we want to see now is a flood of pinned picture selfies just to identify people for any kind of social gatherings.
However, I really think that would help. I really think that would help. Just a pin post.
Completely agree.
Who owns the business?
Agree. Yeah.
It could. Try it out. Let me know how you get on.
Well, you can't do any harm with it.
No.
That's for sure. As long as you're decent in the picture. Yeah. As always, I will put and pin Dan's details in the episode description below. So wherever you're listening, scroll down in the episode description. You'll be able to find links to Dan's socials so you can go and link up with him. Obviously, go and give Dan a follow and show him some support in whatever adventures he's going to be off on soon. So,
oh yeah.
Dan, massively appreciate your time, mate.
Cheers,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.